Okay guys, good evening and welcome to the final round of the Eldar BTCC Blueprints Cayman Cup, and I'm your host as per usual in the commentary box. It is the one and only Hoppers. Good evening, good morning, good afternoon, depending on where you are watching the stream. And yes, we have a thrilling instalment for this evening's championship final rounds. It doesn't feel like yesterday when the Caymans were at, I believe it was, if I remember rightly, trying to remember, was it, Catalonia, yes, it was at Catalonia for the Decals Lab, not Decals, that was last season, BTCC Blueprints Cayman Cup. So yes, it is the final round and we are here at the Nurburgring GP circuit. Some of these guys may have had experience already of the track, because some of them were racing midweek, and potentially it will be a very interesting title fight. There is potentially two drivers could win it. There was going to be a third title winner, but unfortunately he has other commitments and he will not be taking part. So I'm just going to share this around and then we'll be ready to go. So hopefully that has shared it. Yes, it has. So I'm going to go through the points and then we'll go through who's here, and then hopefully it should be a good laugh. Obviously bear in mind the points that I'm going to read out now are in drop scores, because they are drop scores of the championship. We do have Timmy Gill on 255 points. His closest nemesis, Panos, isn't here this evening. He's 3 points behind. Potentially it would have been a three-way fight between himself and third place Lee Fitzy, who's actually here. He's on 244, so it's now between Timmy and Lee Fitzy to see who takes the crown of the BCC Blueprints Porsche Caymans. Christian Swire no longer taking part in the championship, but he's on 207. Adam Morgan in the purple or pink, sort of the pink highlighter Cayman, is on 187. They have Dean Atkinson, who's just ahead of him on track, on 179. Then it's Brian Ross, who's hosting the lobby this evening, on 166. Then you have Ismail Nemri on 136. Then you have Dan Cope on 112. Then Jay Baxter makes it this evening. Both him and Dan are tied for points. And then you have Andrew Osler. Sadly, Andrew Osler isn't taking part in the rest of the season. On 81, they have Richard Barton on 48, and Max Robertson on 36, and then obviously Mark Palmer on 34. So it should be very exciting to see exactly what goes on for the BTC Blueprints Porsche Caymans, but we will see exactly what happens for this evening. It will be long and probably be exciting, but we do have a lot of things to have ongoing. So yes, it will be very interesting to see. So yes, it will be amazing and probably one of the best championship finales. So I'm just going to be back in a second. I'm just going to get a quick drink. So as I say guys, yes, it is going to be one of the closest and very much interesting nail biters to the championship, potentially after amazing battles throughout this season. We did go to tracks such as Largo, such as Blue Moon, such as Fuji, and of course Bronze Hatch, and obviously we round up here at the home of the German Grand Prix, or as if you want to be known as the Eiffel. The weather at the moment is looking very hot indeed over in Germany, but it is going to be pretty much exciting, and hopefully this evening will provide a title winner. And as of next season, there is going to be probably very mixed up grids and potentially some fantastic racing coming to Eldar Sim. We do have the Eldar Sim World Touring Cars, which will be replacing the Porsche Caymans, and then you have obviously the Supercars, which is GT cars, replacing the British Touring Cars. And we also do have a new Toyota Yaris Cup, potentially replacing the Mazda MX-5s. So it is going to be very interesting to see exactly which drivers. Obviously the driver lists have been announced for what divisions they're going to be in, and it was also down to me and the fellow admins to also delegate who goes where. So you know, it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens with each of the divisions, and potentially see what drivers are made of. But that's obviously next season, and that will be taking place on a Friday. At the moment we do have the Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs Mazda MX-5s. They are at Blue Moon on the infield, so go check that out this evening. That race will be streamed, and the legendary Malcolm Argyle, that likes to do such amazing picturesque sort of commentary, his ways of his commentary will get you guys amazed within the likes of his commentary, and potentially, you know, do go and head over to watching that if you like. You have me, Hoppers, doing obviously the Porsche Caymans, and then we also have, and it's unfortunately it's not streamed, we do have the Shalom British Touring Cars from our top list this evening, and that is hosted by Nick Sargent. Also Darren Baldwin, aka SR Idol 4, hosts the Mazda MX-5s, and I believe he's racing in that this evening. So it is going to be very exciting to see exactly the nail-biting championship up, not just in the Caymans but also in British Touring Cars, and also you have the MX-5s up for grabs as well. I believe Ryan McVeigh and of course Will Sutters and I believe Gareth Morris are the top three in the BTCC heading into the final round, and potentially one of them potentially could win. We do have Timmy Gill and of course Lee Fitzy, just looking at Dan Cope going round towards the Mercedes-Benz Arena at the moment. But we do have Lee Fitzy and Timmy Gill potentially up for grabs of the Cayman title this evening. And over in the Mazda MX-5s you have Bruno Batica and of course Johnny Carrington, I believe, up for grabs. To one of them will win the title of the MX-5s, and it will be potentially very interesting to see exactly what on goes, and potentially within Eldar Sim bragging rights to the Hoppers Motorsport Vlogs Mazda MX-5s, and it will be obviously going to be very interesting. Hopefully we get really cool sponsorship on board next season for the whole three leagues that will be taking place. Potentially myself will be in one of the commentary box, and it will be very interesting. So we do have potentially, just going to see exactly what time it is. We do have a couple of minutes to go until qualifying does begin, so it's about 4 minutes time. So it's going to be very difficult at the moment, because there is we do have only 7 people, but that shouldn't really be an issue. It probably will be spectacular, especially Fuji last week. Fuji played host to the penultimate rounds, and some of the racing there was absolutely stellar, and it absolutely really was class. But it is going to be very interesting. People are probably wondering why the Caymans aren't running on the Nordschleife. Well, the Nordschleife track itself is pretty long, and you know, it is probably, I'm going to say this as a fan of this circuit, you know, it is one of the best. I do like racing here when I do get the chance, but the Nordschleife is very long and potentially is very thrilling, but because of the lap times, you know, it's very difficult to get it on the Nordschleife. And you know, maybe one day we'll maybe able to run just a full-blown Nordschleife and not combined, but you never know, we might do a combined session at some point. But looking forward to seeing exactly what happens tonight. You know, you've got some interesting drivers potentially gunning for their best results of the season, and you've also got the battle between Timmy Gill and Lee Fitzy, and it is obviously going to be probably close and personal, excuse me, as Brian Ross goes into the Schumacher S. So it is going to be very interesting to see exactly what these guys can do. Obviously, you know, it's been an absolute privilege this season. We've had a few rocky moments, but you know, we've got through the season without plenty of, well, obviously there's been plenty of controversy and plenty of drama, but we've now got to the final round where people, you know, there's a title fight on our hands already. Without the drop scores, Timmy would have probably would have practically sewn it up. He had a non-finish at the last round at Fuji, potentially going through Advan now as we speak, but he's potentially going to be the guy to beat. Is he going to be on course for his championship, or is Lee Fitzy going to try and nail bite him into the final bit of potentially of the championship? It's going to go down to these two. But obviously, you know, place your bets, guys. Who do you think is going to win? I do hope this evening that we do get through the races without any incidences. But saying that, you know, anything can happen, and it's thrown up. You know, races have thrown up quite some amazing surprises. Unfortunately, the grid at the moment this evening has kind of depleted, which is a bit unfortunate, and you know, it's obviously, hopefully things will pick up for next season when we do have 3 brand new championships coming to Eldar Sim. Obviously if you're new around here, please do like and subscribe, and also do check us out on Facebook, Instagram and also Twitter. And you know, it will be amazing to see exactly what people can do. Obviously, you know, with the title, if the title has been sewn up at Fuji, it could have easily been a different matter for some of these guys. So you got like Lee Fitzy there, the Welshman, potentially emulating his cousin Craig Thomas. Craig's in obviously BTCC, but it would be very nice to potentially trying to get close to Timmy Gill, as Brian Ross has just started qualifying. So it will be very interesting to see exactly what happens. So we'll see exactly what goes on. So it is going to be probably a very interesting 10 minutes of qualifying round here. It is looking likely already there's a bit of interchanging with Timmy Gill and Dan Cope going out of pit lane there. So potentially Lee Fitzy is going to do his normal trick and just wait for the whole field to go by before he pulls out of pit lane. So with 9.5 minutes to go, we will see. They're out on their outlaps at the moment, and this is where it gets exactly very interesting. It is the last qualifying session of the season, and it is also going to be very much interesting to see who will come out on top, potentially for that vital point of pole position. But Dan Cope gets a bit loose there. But Dean Atkinson at the moment, obviously Dean's had a mixture season. He's had a few podiums along the way. It's obviously going to be very close. So Lee Fitzy now, just watching him here, he's going to slowly catch up to the back of the train now and potentially put that 103 car in a good starting position for the first of 3 races this evening. 3 7-lap races this evening. It's going to be pretty much interesting to see exactly what to do. We're just looking at Timmy Gill here, going up towards Advan now, and he will potentially be the pace setter, just obviously going up to NGK chicane, but he will probably be the first one to start his first flying lap of the season. He just hop, skips and jumps the curbs into the final qualifying session, so he's obviously looking for his first championship, and potentially will he get it, but who knows. It will be very interesting to see exactly what these guys can do. It's obviously all or nothing between himself and Lee Fitzy. So between Timmy and Lee, it will be pretty much interesting. So you've got 7.5 minutes to go. Some of these guys are going to be probably pushing now, potentially, as qualifying gets a bit frantic, and especially with 7 cars on the grid. You know, it is kind of a bit of an upsetting way to end the season, but it has been, as I say, it's been a few ifs and buts, and also a few seasons kind of gone one way or another, because if Panos was here tonight, it probably would have been this three-way fight for the title, but you know, just going to make sure everyone is okay, and potentially it is going to be probably close, but no matter where you are in the table, you potentially could, as Dean Atkinson gets a bit loose going out at the hairpin there, so it's going to be very much interesting indeed, as I say. But some of the guys have had interesting thoughts within the season. Potentially there's been a few dormers, there's been a few dents, there's probably been a few paints squabbled, especially the back-to-back rounds in Japan, where we went to Autopolis and then obviously went onto the streets of Tokyo. Tokyo was where the talking points started, potentially, for the championship, but obviously looking likely that things have kind of, in a way, for these guys, probably now it's the final round, and with 2 cars trying to win it, it's going to make it even more exciting. So Timmy's about to cross the line and do a 2-minute for 2:04, and Adam Morgan with a 2:05.353. It's not Adam Morgan, British Touring Car star. It is a Welshman who has also the same name. Timmy jumping into pit lane. Ismail Nemri was briefly third with a 2:05.9, but Brian Ross has smashed that by a couple of attempts. Lee Fitzy up into second, so the championship rivals potentially going to be doing a bit of digging there. Whether Timmy's deciding to sit out the last 5 minutes of the session, but that probably may hamper him potentially, or is it going to hamper him? But we don't know yet. We have to wait and see. Excuse me, as I coughed down everyone's ear. But yes, it is going to be very close. We do have Dan Cope in 7th at the moment. Adam Morgan is 3rd at the moment on our timing screen, and potentially it's going to be, as Timmy gets out of pit lane, potentially going to go for another lap. He's going to have potentially 4 minutes and 18 seconds to try and get another lap in. Potentially he will have to try and push on. Potentially now Lee Fitzy, his title nemesis. Obviously Lee's been probably one of the closest guys to Timmy apart from Panos, because obviously if Panos, like I say, if Panos was here, it would be a three-way fight, and potentially the reigning Clio Cup champion of, well, Tier 3 champion of the Eldar Sim Championship, obviously isn't here this evening, so he's unfortunately going to be unable to win the double of the championship. Adam Morgan goes across the line. Oh, that propels him up into second with a 2:04.863. Dean Atkinson now third with a 2:04.9. Ismail Nemri up into fourth with a 2:05.094. And Brian Ross at the moment fifth fastest with a 2:05.160. Lee Fitzy propels himself up into fifth now with a 2:05.117. So he's obviously he's got a couple of cars between him and Timmy at the moment. As we see here, Dean Atkinson and Ismail Nemri potentially coming into play for qualifying with just under 3 minutes to go. So Timmy here on his outlap for hopefully going to get another lap in. He's obviously, don't know whether he's just taking it easy potentially to see what's going to happen, but at the moment we're going to wait and see whether his qualifying time will stay the same. But at the moment it's very difficult to and judge potentially to see what's going on. I believe Dean Atkinson and Ismail Nomri, so third and fourth on the grid, potentially trying to get the toe off each other with 2 minutes to go in this last qualifying session of the season. And you know, like I say, it feels really weird. It feels like we've only just started at Catalunya, but we're already here at the end of the season, and it is going to be close, and it probably will be one of the most interchanging fights for the title, because whether Timmy has the advantage or Lee Fitzy has the advantage, it will be down to the quickest guy, obviously. But it is looking likely at the moment these guys are potentially not improved their lap times at the moment, with, as Dan Cope actually goes, or still stays 7th fastest with a 2:07.969. Excuse me. Adam Walker now jumps into pit lane. Potentially Lee Fitzy still 5th at the moment. He's obviously struggling to get out of 5th spot at the moment. Potentially he's going to have to push on. He's got one last lap to do it. Timmy here, he's gone purple in that sector, so he's obviously on a mission. He's got his hazard lights on. I don't know whether he means to have them on, but maybe it's a distraction for the others behind him. But at the moment he's run a bit wide going out of the NGK chicane. He rides a bit of the curb there. He's got to be careful because of track limits there, but potentially is he going to cross the line? What's he going to do? Oh, he's improved with a 2:03.978, so it is going to be close. It is going to be probably his last ditch attempt to get pole position and get that vital point. Now he's decided to abandon that with 3 seconds to go. So you've got Dean Atkinson now on a massive charge, potentially to try and start third. He's gone purple there, so is Dean going to get the final pole position of the season? We shall see. Potentially he goes up to the NGK chicane at the moment. He's obviously going to be very interesting. Is he going to split the championship rivals, or is he going to be still pushing on? Let's see. He goes through the final turn now. Checkered flag waves. Let's see, what does he do? Oh, he goes up into second with a 2:04.2. So that's going to be very interesting. Adam Morgan there potentially cost him a bit. Dan Cope with a 2:06.211. So it's going to be very much interesting. Ismail Numri potentially still fourth. Lee Fitzy unfortunately fifth fastest at the moment. So there is roughly four cars. 3 cars between Timmy and Lee potentially there. Brian Ross 6th and Dan Cope 7th. Adam Morgan probably wants to wait for a bit. So I believe Timmy from Dean Atkinson, followed by Adam Morgan from Ismail, Lee Fitzy and Brian Ross, and of course Dan Cope complete the grid. As I say, it's a bit of a depleted grid this evening. Obviously, you know, can't be helped. Dean Atkinson there, what a stellar job putting that green and white Cayman up into second. So that is going to be very much interesting. We'll see exactly how his gap is like near enough 2 tenths of a second there. So it's going to be close. It could be very personal, but looking likely that we will see what will happen. Is there going to be fireworks in this race, or is there going to be people, are they going to just play it safe? But it is going to be very close, you know. We'll have to. So Timmy gets a point for fastest qualifying, but it is going to be close. So guys, yes, we are getting ready for the first race of the evening. It is round number 8 of the championship. And Timmy followed by Dean, followed by Adam, followed by Ismail, followed by Lee Fitzy and Brian Ross and Dan Cope complete the rear of the grid. As I say, it's going to be very interesting. The marshal at the back of the grid has waved the green flag to say that everyone is back from the warming up lap. We are getting 5 light on the starting gantry. They will turn to green any moment in a second, which they do now. So who's going to get a good start going into turn number 1? It is going to be very close. Timmy at the moment potentially now leads into turn number 1. He's got Dean Atkinson all over the back of him. It looks like Dan Cope up into 6th place already. Make that 5th because he's now got past Ismail Numri. And Adam Morgan actually gets to jump on Dean Atkinson for 2nd place at the moment. But it is looking very fraught. It is going to look very close and personal. You've got Ismail Numri running a bit wide there, which has cost him a bit of ground there, which has cost him back down to 7th place. So Dan Cope up into 5th. Lee Fitzy already in 4th, potentially needs to get up into the title fight. It is going to be very difficult because obviously there's only 7 guys this evening. It's going to make it quite a hefty battle, but excuse me, as my voice nearly disappears there. So you've got Ismail Numri at the back of the field, chasing after Brian Ross and Dan Cope. Dean Atkinson trying to chase down Adam Morgan, but looking at Lee Fitzy at the moment. But we are looking at Brian Ross, Dan Cope, and of course Ismail Numri going out of the Schumacher S. Brian Ross there on the inside. Dan Cope closest the door slightly, but he's lost ground now. So he's lost ground from Ismail Numri and of course Brian Ross. Brian Ross up into 6th. Dan Cope actually 6th. Brian Ross drops back. And it is going to be very close, but looking at Dean Atkinson there just off camera, or now going into the NGK chicane. He takes 2nd place from Adam Morgan, but Adam Morgan fights back. And potentially Lee Fitzy is also here. Some of these guys actually did race on Monday night, excuse me, in the GR3 JTCC Championship. It looks like Brian Ross has had a bit of an issue. Well, unfortunately we can't get the replay to see exactly what happened, but there's a battle for Lee Fitzy up into 3rd, Adam Morgan in 2nd, so it's looking likely the 2 Welsh lads are going to try and help each other out, aren't they? Because Timmy has that gap there. but is looking likely at the moment. Ismail Numri up into 5th, followed by Dan Cope and of course Brian Ross. But Timmy runs a bit wide. Some of the guys actually run a bit wide going out of the arena section. Adam Morgan there in the pink car. Is he going to play the tactic and allow Lee Fitzy to get up to Timmy, or is he going to play it cool and potentially be Lee Fitzy's front guard? But it's going to be very much interesting indeed, as I say. But going into this title fight, it is going to be close and personal. Potentially, we do have a bit of excitement ongoing, but we do have Adam Morgan being put under considerable amount of pressure from Lee Fitzy there, potentially for 2nd place at the moment. We'll see what's happening further back. Just as Lee Fitzy makes that move up into 2nd, they're probably playing that team game I was on about there. But Ismail Numri up into 5th place still. Dan Cope 6th, followed by Brian Ross. So Brian has a 5/10th penalty, which is a bit unfortunate for Brian. He's obviously trying to finish the season on a high, but at the moment he's looking likely. Adam Morgan there is trying to get right past Lee Fitzy for 2nd place. Dean Atkinson and Ismail Numri are also next in line potentially for 4th place at the moment. This is going to be probably close. It's going to be really interesting because not only have we got that battle for 2nd and 3rd, because Timmy's just eating away this lead from Lee Fitzy at the moment. So you've got Dean Atkinson and of course Ismail Numri behind. So you've got the obviously you've got as I say Dean Atkinson there in 4th, followed by Ismail Numri, and of course Dan Cope, followed by Brian Ross there in 7th. He's obviously struggling at the moment. Obviously it's going to be very much interesting. You got Lee Fitzy trying to hold off Adam Morgan, his countryman, trying to fend away, but it is going to be very close. It is going to be probably personal, and it's going to be close as well. But it's looking like they're going into the Schumacher S for the 3rd time that Lee Fitzy will have the upper hand, but Adam Morgan also lines him up very spectacular going into this turn here. Obviously the pink car of Adam Morgan trying to get a long step side, still Lee Fitzy there, so it's going to be close. Obviously, Lee Fitzy does not want another place lost. He wants to try and get away from this group and catch up to Timmy, but at the moment Timmy is 3.5 seconds up the road going into that chicane there. So it's going to be very close. Adam Morgan now, you can just see him essentially pushing on. Dean Atkinson hops the curb and knocks the marker. I think Ismail Numri did try to do exactly the same, but went further wide. Dan Cope 6th at the moment. And you got Brian Ross 7th. So we're on lap 4 out of 7, and it is going to be close and personal, probably for 2nd place any moment. Obviously Adam Morgan's probably trying to protect Lee Fitzy at the moment, because Lee Fitzy runs a bit wide. Both run a bit wide there into turn number 1. Obviously we'll go on board with, if we can, we're on board with Dean Atkinson, just watching these two up ahead at the moment, potentially for 2nd, 3rd and 2nd, but it is going to be probably close and probably personal as we get back to the action there. So you got Ismail Numri escaped from Dan Cope, Brian Ross unfortunately at the tail of the field at the moment, but it's looking likely, apart from, even though Lee Fitzy's trying to get away from Adam Morgan and of course Dean Atkinson, but it's looking likely that Dean's also trying to gain that gap and trying to get onto the back of these two. So it is going to be very close and personal. any moment, but obviously Timmy with that gap, almost 4 seconds into the corner here, potentially heading towards Advan very shortly. But the main battle we've got is Adam Morgan and Lee Fitzey, and of course Dean Atkinson. They're going to be probably one of the closest ideas. He's going to have to think of a way to get past each other, but obviously going up towards the MGK chicane, because look at Timmy's gap, he's got it really close there. Lee Fitzey's slowly but surely trying to close that gap, but he's got to be very careful, because Adam Morgan's lost a bit of the tyres there. I thought he was going to slide off and potentially gift Dean Atkinson third place there, but he's held on to it very well. It's cost him a bit of ground on Lee Fitzey. Now Brian Ross and Dan Cope complete the field at the moment. As we see here, Dean Atkinson obviously wanting to end the season on a high, as we see him trying to battle his way up into third place, but it is looking likely with 2 laps to go that Lee Fitzey is going to have a bit of a gap. He's obviously, he knows Timmy's going to try and win everything compared to what will happen, but it is looking likely at the moment. Adam Morgan, Dean Atkinson, look at this, trading paint. Dean Atkinson gets the move, Adam Morgan goes drifting, but he's kept it there. I thought he was going to knock into Dean Atkinson and near enough take each other out, but Ismail Nemri in 5th place, followed by Dan Cope at the moment, and of course Brian Ross unfortunately having a bit of a nightmare this evening. Obviously Timmy there showing a masterclass. He's obviously thinking, well, Panos isn't here, but Lee Fitzey is in 2nd, but it depends on, you've got to be careful, especially if you pick up a penalty here, and it could cost you dearly. You've got Dean Atkinson still in 3rd with Adam Morgan trailing and squirming like a snake at the back. It's going to be very interesting to see exactly what the pink car of Adam Morgan can do going into the NGK chicane for the 5th time. It's looking likely. Lee Fitzey was also slowing down a bit, but Dean Atkinson there with that green and white Porsche Cayman trying to fend off the pink machine of Adam Morgan there. So it is going to be very interesting with a lap to go. So going on to the penultimate lap now, Ismail Nemri just goes through the final turn, and obviously Dan Cope. There's a bit of a gap between these guys, but the main battle at the moment is obviously between Dean Atkinson and Adam Morgan now, which is give Lee Fitzey a bit of breathing space, but it's going to be very close, and it probably will be a very interesting end towards this season. Obviously with the next race going to be a full grid reverse, so Brian Ross will start on pole position and it will be a rolling start. But just going into this race at the moment, looking at what is happening, because Lee Fitzey, I don't know whether he's having issues or he's just having a bit of a leisurely drive at the moment, because obviously he knows that Timmy's going to probably eke out that advantage and probably potentially have this championship sewn up, but it is going to be close and it can be very technically interesting to see what these guys will do for the last 2 races of the season. But looking at what's going on, you've got Lee Fitzey, he's obviously having to defend now because Dean Atkinson has caught him with spectacular pace. Where has this come from? It is looking likely that Dean Atkinson here is going to be pushing on Lee Fitzey. Runs a bit wide going out of that turn there. Obviously he's now got his mirrors full of the white and green Porsche Cayman, a 22 car of Dean Atkinson. Dean Atkinson makes the move into Advan, but is Lee Fitzey going to be putting him under considerable amount of pressure going into NGK? Yes, he has. Lee Fitzey has got the move back, but this is going to be very close. But this is probably the main battles. Is Timmy going to win the championship in this race, or is Lee Fitzy going to claw it back? It's going to be probably very close as we go on to the final lap of the first race of the evening, and it will be very close and personal. But it's looking likely that Dean Atkinson there has still got his giving Lee Fitzy his mirrors full of that Cayman, and potentially it is going to be the 103 car, potentially from the 22. It's going to be very close and probably personal, but it's looking likely at the moment. Lee Fitzy is trying every trick in the book. Dean Atkinson runs across the dirt, potentially. Oh, he's still got that Cayman right up and close in Lee Fitzy's back bumper, but it is going to be very close indeed, as I say, going into the hairpin at the bottom. It is going to be very close. Obviously Lee Fitzy runs a bit wide. Adam Morgan also trying to join in this interchanging battle, but we do have Lee Fitzy. Oh, Dean Atkinson there, just locked brake going into the hairpin, but it is going to be very close indeed. I can't believe exactly whether the title nemesis, but it looks like Timmy so far will have. Let's look at him. He's obviously gone for a leisurely drive this evening, and potentially going to be pushing on for another win in the championship. You got Lee Fitzy there trying to now fend off Dean Atkinson, but Dean Atkinson will be behind him for quite a bit there. But he's obviously got very much the battle galore, but it is looking likely at the moment. We'll go back to the battle in a minute, but Timmy is now going to take another victory in this season. Is it going to be enough to wrap up the championship? But who knows. But it is looking likely it's going to be Lee Fitzy or Dean Atkinson, potentially for second. It looks like Lee Fitzy actually just gets it from Dean Atkinson just at the end. Adam Morgan also gets there in fourth. Ismail Nemri comes home in fifth. He's got Dan Cope close this time, but Dan Cope has a penalty, and it looks like Dan Cope just don't know whether he literally took his penalty just dead on the line, but Brian Ross also finishes seventh. So Timmy gets another well-deserved victory. He's got pole position, he's got the fastest lap as well. So he's got all three bonus. He's got 2 bonus points, but we will take a look at the results in a moment or two. Just why I quickly grab them. So it is going to be very close and a bit more personal. But just give me a second. I'll just check the comments here. So, good evening, Kim. Thank you for the comments. I do apologise. Yes, thank you. It should be a thrilling end to the season, but we do have the race results. Timmy Gill actually takes a well-deserved victory, and I believe Lee Fitzy will be trying to put him under pressure for the next race. But is it going to go down to the wire, or is it going to go down to obviously this race just now, which is going to be very hard to tell. Dean Atkinson actually gets third, Adam Morgan fourth, followed by Ismail Nemri and Dan Cope and Brian Ross. Potentially, I thought Lee Fitzy was also almost close to conceding second place along the line. Timmy gets the fastest lap though of the race with a 2:04.117 on lap number 2, and that never changed. But it's going to be very close going into the last 2 rounds of the season, and you know, who knows potentially what will happen for the remainder of the evening. So it looks like there is going to be a lot of very much interesting. So as I say, it's a reverse grid and it is a rolling start, and it is looking likely that we'll be going racing in 2 minutes time. So it's got a bit cloudier this time round, but is Timmy going to try and eke out now that advantage and take it all the way in trying to do a 3-race win? I believe we've not had drivers take all 3 wins this season in the Caymans, but you know, we've had a mixture of results from obviously previous races, but we've had some of the guys get 2 race wins, but obviously no one has done the triple win as of yet. But it will be very interesting. Obviously this evening it would be ideal, but whether, you know, things will happen, it is going to be close and personal. But we do have obviously a couple of minutes before we get underway for the penultimate race of the season, and you know, things will start to probably, I'm not going to say simmer, because it may have a lot of content, and as I say, there's only only 7 cars. Is it? Yeah, only 7 cars this evening, which has made it a bit unfortunate. But it is just what it is, unfortunately. So you know, it could be very interesting indeed. We do have some ways and some stuff into a bit of an interchanging battle, but obviously, you know, going into the last 2 races of the season, you know, it looked like, obviously with Fuji being a bit of a sort of an interesting and bit very close as we get ready for the penultimate race of the season. It will be very interesting because Brian Ross starts on pole position, followed by Dan Cope and Ismail, and then obviously Adam Morgan and Dean Atkinson, and then obviously Lee Fitzy and Timmy. So Timmy ekes out that advantage slightly to Lee Fitzy in the championship, but it's all going to go down to what happens here. So Brian Ross at the moment will lead them round the hairpin and will take the green light for the the penultimate round of the season. It will be very close. I believe it will be all or nothing for some of these guys. It will be very close, so we are getting the lights to turn to green any moment now, and Brian Ross will control the field, potentially heading into turn number 1. We do have Dan Cope in second, and I believe the guys are now going to be very bunched up, and it is going to be very interesting. Brian Ross trying to make amends from a bit of a rough start this evening. Ismail Nemri and Dan Cope have not really a tap, but almost a bit of a moment going into turn number 1. Adam Morgan there from Dean Atkinson. Timmy already up into 6th place. He's obviously got past Lee Fitzy, but going up into the battle for second. Oh, it looked like Dan Cope there, and Ismail Nemri. Ismail has dropped down into 5th place, so Brian Ross at the moment will have that advantage eked even more because of Dan Cope and Ismail having a bit of a wheel locking moment, I believe. It looked like it was, but it's a bit very interesting. Adam Morgan there in 3rd, followed by Timmy. Oh, Timmy gets past Ismail for 5th place there, just doing it into the hairpin. So that was an absolute stellar move there by Timmy. He's potentially wanting to get up front as quick as he can. Ismail now drops to 6th. Obviously Lee Fitzy, Timmy's championship rival and nemesis, 7th. Dean Atkinson puts his green and white Cayman in an awkward position there by the looks of it, essentially trying to get Timmy. Oh, it looks like Adam Morgan and Dan Cope are having a bit of a battle going towards Advan, and potentially Adam Morgan has that tries to have that move covered But it looks like Dan Cope is trying to get and push on. Is he going to get the move done? Yes, he does, but Dean Atkinson runs a bit wide. It's a bit unfortunate for Dean there. Ismail Nemri now drops to the rear of the field. So you've got Dan Cope and Adam Morgan, and of course Timmy's now up into 4th. Very close and personal. These guys are trying to obviously eke out this advantage, but Brian Ross at the moment on course for a win if he keeps it together on lap 2 out of 7 already. Looks like Dan Cope is trying to take Timmy and of course Adam Morgan into the first turn, which it looked like it was another move from last season, which near enough wiped out half the field. Adam Morgan there taps the rear quarter of Dan Cope, but Dan Cope keeps it together, which is cost him ground because it's allowed Timmy up into 3rd place at the moment. But it's looking likely at the moment these guys are potentially, Timmy's up into 2nd, Dan Cope is also there, but it's looking likely Adam Morgan and of course Dan Cope are trading paint. But that's just going to be very careful. Ismail Nemri at the tail of the field, you can just see Lee Fitzy there, obviously trying to get on a massive charge as well. He tries to make a move on Adam Morgan into the hairpin, which he does. Is Adam Morgan going to fight back? But Dan Cope there drops down to 4th, but he's got to be careful because Lee Fitzy has the inside for the Schumacher S. But it's looking likely Adam Morgan and Dan Cope are having a bit of a battle. Dan Cope trying to make best of friends with these guys, but Dean Atkinson gets into 5th place, which is a stellar drive. You can see Ismail Nemri there having a bit of a nightmare now. Brian Ross 3.7 from Timmy there in 2nd place. Lee Fitzy also up into 3rd, but it's looking likely this battle, there is probably going to be battles galore between 3rd, 4th, 5th and 6th. This is where it's going to be hotting up because the title is going to probably be decided, but it's going to be very close. Ismail with that penalty there, it is going to be very close. His lot is going to lose a bit of ground now from these guys, but it's looking likely Dean Atkinson trying to make another stellar move. But is he going to try and do it because, you know, Timmy there, he's trying to get away from Lee Fitzy, but it's looking likely Lee Fitzy's going to try and gain on him, if not too long. But we're on lap 3 out of 7 already. It just seems very weird how quick these races can go, but Dean Atkinson and of course Adam Morgan run a bit wide going out of the arena. But they're going to be battling, I'll tell you this now. It's going to look like the two brightest cars of the field. It's looking likely that Adam Morgan there in 4th place at the moment, trying to escape from Dean Atkinson, but Dean Atkinson's going to reel him like he's caught a fish. But that's going to be very interesting indeed. But you've got Dean Atkinson seriously reeling in Adam Morgan. Now he's obviously got the bait, and you know it's going to be very interesting. The fish is trying to bite, but it's going to be very interesting. Dean Atkinson there trying to get past that pink machine. He's obviously going to try a trick around the block or two potentially, but Adam Morgan there still holding on to 4th place at the moment. We'll see what's going on up the road for going into Advan at the moment. Look at that, going out of Advan just as we speak. And Dean Atkinson now has caught Adam Morgan, so it's going to be very close. He gets a bit loose, but I believe that's just a bit of tyres not up to optimum temperature at the moment. But Timmy is trying to escape from Lee Fitzy at the moment. It is shades of race 1, but Brian Ross is leading this race at the moment. He's 2.1. The lead's considerably coming down a bit. Timmy runs a bit wide there, which knocked over a cone, but Adam Morgan there goes very on the power to try and catch up to Dean Atkinson. These two are having a a bit of a battle this evening. Obviously, I think they've got their own battle in the championship, so it could be very interesting to see exactly what happens between the green and white and versus the pink machine. Dan Cope there in 6th, Ismail Numri in 7th at the moment. Brian Ross still eking out that lead, potentially trying to escape on lap 4 out of 7. And you've also got Timmy there trying to escape from Lee Fitzy. But at the moment, this is the battle we want to see. Dean Atkinson versus Adam Morgan at the moment. Obviously, it is going to be very close. Dean Atkinson there tries to literally just power his way out of this hairpin. And he's obviously got Adam Morgan coming up very close behind him, going into the Schumacher S. But is it going to be enough potentially to fire Dean Atkinson off guard, or is Adam Morgan going to have this move covered? But we shall see in a minute, going into the next corner here. But obviously it is looking likely going in towards Advan, whether Adam Morgan will have that move done, or is he just going to play it cool? Potentially the gap's considerably grown a bit. It's going down towards the NGK chicane. Who is going to be the last of the late breakers? Dean Atkinson hops the curbs, which unsettles him slightly. But Brian Ross, we'll see what Brian's doing. At the moment, Timmy's caught him. Timmy's caught him with considerable pace there, potentially. Is Timmy going to want to take another win? Because that is what he's wanting to do. He's obviously wanting to round out the season in style. Which Timmy tries to go for a move into turn 1. Brian Ross actually shuts the door, runs a bit deep and runs a bit wide there, but potentially Timmy there in 2nd place at the moment is going to be pushing on quite a bit. He's obviously got Brian in his into sight. Nearly lost what I nearly said then. But it's looking likely Timmy will go on board if we can. Go on board with Timmy's bonnet cam as he gets past Brian Ross for 1st place. So the lead has changed with 2 laps to go. Brian Ross always got a bit crossed up. That's allowed Lee Fitzy up into 2nd. So that is going to be very interesting indeed. But you know, Brian Ross, he's obviously pushing on the 62. Machine, the purple and green car, is trying to get up to this title fight now. Adam Morgan with a 9/10 penalty there. Is that going to cost him dearly now from Dean Atkinson? I think it might. But Dan Cope in 6th, followed by Ismail Numri. But at the moment, Timmy is going to be probably thinking, well, this title's going to be mine. It's going to be very close. He's got, at the moment, he's got the fastest lap again. But this is going to be very interesting. I tell you what, Dean Atkinson also may be on course for another podium, because Brian Ross looks to me struggling at the moment. I don't know whether he's struggling or he's just trying to see exactly what goes on with this title fight. But looking at what's going on, is he's catching Lee Fitzy slightly, but it's looking like he's got to be very careful, because he's both got sort of the considerable gaps between himself and of course Lee Fitzy, so they're both probably considerable gaps. Adam Morgan takes his penalty in the background. Dan Cope also in 6th, followed by Ismail Numri. So we're on the penultimate lap of the penultimate race of the season. It is going to be probably close and personal between these guys. We do have quite an interesting battle going to be happening in the last race of the season. And I'll tell you this, Brian Ross there potentially putting Dean Atkinson under a bit of shake and bake moves potentially into the opening part of the arena. But Brian Ross at the moment trying to chase down Lee Fitzy, but he's got to be careful because he's also got his moves full of Dean Atkinson as well. So he's going to be probably very close. He's looking likely like that. You know, Lee Fitzy's going to try. You know, he's obviously got Timmy in his sights, but looking at what's going on behind, Timmy has got that sort of that momentum, and he has that going into Schumacher S. It is looking likely Lee Fitzey and of course Brian Ross. But looking at what Dean Atkinson's trying to do at the same time, is he going to go for the move on Brian Ross, or is Brian Ross going to close the door on every corner? It looks like at the moment Brian Ross is doing everything to try and keep that white and green machine behind, which has allowed Lee Fitzey to try and considerably have that gap even more. But looking at Dean Atkinson, he's got the line going up to the NGK chicane at the moment, but it's looking likely Brian Ross is holding on for dear life. You know, he's obviously holding that steering wheel and moving it about like a yo-yo on springs. But it's going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens. But we do have Brian Ross trying to escape from Dean Atkinson at the moment. It's obviously looking like Dean's trying to make the move, stick onto the final lap of the the penultimate race of the season. Oh, Brian Ross clips that marker post, which cost him a bit of ground there, but he's still fighting back. He's actually going to try and gain onto him. It is looking likely though at the moment Timmy is going to be on course for another victory if all goes well. At the moment we don't put the commentator's curse on him, but we do have Dean Atkinson third. He runs a bit wide back onto the dirt, but Brian Ross is also gaining onto him. Looks like now Brian Ross has that 1 second penalty. Adam Morgan in 5th, followed by Dan Cope and Ismail Nemri. But this is where it's going to hot up, because I believe Lee Fitzey there in 2nd place at the moment. Bar there's no mistake from his counterpart, it could be, or his part, he could be on course potentially to gain up to Timmy and take a win. With Dean Atkinson there in 3rd place at the moment, shades of race 1 podium, and Brian Ross there in 4th, Adam Morgan 5th, Dan Cope 6th, and Ismail Nemri. But looking at the battle at the moment, Timmy's actually eked out that advantage really considerably more. But going towards Advan, it looks like, you know, he's got the job done. But it looks like Lee Fitzey may potentially have to wait and see what goes on. It could be very interesting. Timmy runs a bit onto the curb, but he's got it under control. He's obviously going to take another victory. He actually started from the back. He's actually made his way up into 1st place to take another victory, and it's probably going to be his championship. Bear in mind that Lee Fitzey comes home 2nd, Dean Atkinson yet again 3rd, from Brian Ross and of course Adam Morgan, and of course Dan Cope and Ismail Nemri round up the field. So that is the penultimate round of the championship, and it looks like Timmy potentially wants to try and win 3 out of 3. So Timmy has got the fastest lap as well, so he gets the bonus point for potentially going to be here. It is unreal. This championship has not failed to surprise me. It has been probably close and personal, but have we got a lot of things. So before we get into the final race of the season, we have Timmy taking another well-deserved victory from Lee Fitzey, from Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross. Adam Morgan comes home in 5th, Dan Cope 6th, and Ismail Nemri, in 7th. Fastest lap actually went to Timmy on lap number 3 with a 2:04.076. So it's going to be very close. It is looking likely that at the moment we do have a very interesting idea, but I believe Timmy may have wrapped up the championship in that race. It will be very close, but we do have one more race to go this season, this evening, and it will be the nail-biting season finale, where we can technically see whether there'll be fireworks, or will they all try and have a bit of a battle but we will have. So we will be starting in around 3 minutes time. So it is going to be very technically interesting, but it looks like, you know, the way things are going to go, we do have a bit of an interchanging sort of battle going on for potentially certain drivers will want certain rights and certain bragging rights. Sorry about that, I pressed the wrong button. So it's going to be very close, and we do have potentially some stuff that's going to be ongoing within the season finale. It is going to be very close though. This is where you know, anything can happen, and anything will happen. As I say, we can have a number of title. Maybe Timmy's got the title sewn up. You know, he could just go out now and potentially just go for whatever places, because obviously points make prizes. But it looks like at the moment it's not going to go down to, obviously after tonight that's it, and potentially we will have a new champion within the Eldar Sim Porsche Cayman Championship. So the final race of the season is going to get underway very shortly. It is going to be very close. It is going to be probably it is going to go quite some time. I'll tell you this, whatever happens now, if Timmy wins, you know, he's had if he gets the third win on the bounce or the third win on the trot this evening, he will technically have a bit of a celebration, I'm sure, but it is looking likely he's wanting to prove a point. You know, he's proved a point this season. He's obviously, with Panos not being here tonight, it's obviously going to be very close. But what is going to happen come the final round of the season? Obviously, you know, it's going to be close. It can be a few fireworks along the way, but it will be having a bit of a, and I'm not going to say a bit of a tough time, but it is going to be very interesting to see exactly what happens, excuse me, as we get ready for the final race of this season. So we have Timmy from Lee Fitzy, followed by Dean Atkinson, Brian Ross, Adam Morgan and Dan Cope, followed by Ismail Nemri. And it is going to be very interesting indeed, as we get the 5 lights to, well, the 4 lights should I say. So the 4 lights are going to go on, the revs are building as are mine, and we will get ready for the final round of the season to get underway. Who is going to win this? It will be very interesting going into turn number 1. Lee Fitzy already has the door shut, because Timmy has shut the door there. Timmy fighting back. It looks like Adam Morgan up into 3rd already. What a stellar start. But it looks like Ismail Nemri also in 4th, Dan Cope 5th, followed by Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross. But this is going to be very close. It could be an easy way of saying that this is going to be all or nothing, but at the moment Timmy has that start that he really desperately wanted, but it's looking likely at the moment. Lee Fitzy there putting in, will try and push on to try and get a victory this season, but it looks like Adam Morgan has got Ismail Nemri in his sights. So the pink car versus the green and the black and orange car, it will be very interesting. Dan Cope with a 1 second penalty now will have to take that, but that's going to cost him. He runs a bit wide going out of the hairpin. He's got Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross for company going into the Schumacher S at the moment, but it's going to be very close. You've got Dean Atkinson now actually making that move on Dan Cope. Dan Cope obviously trying to literally have that car's width from Dean Atkinson and of course Brian Ross, but at the moment Timmy has that advantage going into the NGK chicane for the first time. It will be very interesting to see exactly what he can do. Is he going to do it the treble win? We cops the curb at the moment. Ismail Nemri also trying to push on to the back of Adam Morgan, but Dan Cope at the moment, is he going to be very close? But at the moment it is looking likely that he moves across. That's going to cost him quite a bit of ground now. So that is actually, it's not cost him too much, but it's going to be very interesting because Brian Ross and of course Dean Atkinson, these guys are probably fighting in the table along with Adam Morgan. But it looks like Brian Ross and of course Dean Atkinson, are they going to trade paint? See what's happening further up the field. At the moment we're looking like Lee Fitzy there, it's still in second place at the moment, Ismail and of course Adam Morgan, but you've got Dean Atkinson in fifth, followed by Brian Ross at the moment, and of course Dan Cope at the rear. It looks like there was a bit of tyre squeal, but it's not really a bit, it's probably just a bit of sideways action as Brian Ross there tries to put Dean Atkinson under considerable amount of pressure going down the hill towards the hairpin. This is going to be very close. It is going to be probably interesting, as I say. Dean Atkinson there still holding on for fifth place at the moment. Ismail Nemri in fourth, trying to end out his season on a high, with Adam Morgan there in third, yes, followed by Lee Fitzy up in second, and Timmy potentially holding on for dear life. But it looks like at the moment Dean Atkinson and Brian Ross are going to have this battle right to the end. Did we see Ismail with a 5/10 penalty? Yes, we did. So he's going to have to take that now. That is going to cost him dearly. But at the moment, looking at potentially his skill, would see exactly what his last lap time was. It was 207.8, so that's considerably cost him ground. The Dutchman / Moroccan there trying to, he's going to have to now catch up to Adam Morgan quite considerably. We've got Dean Atkinson in fifth place at the moment, and obviously Brian Ross in sixth place, followed by Dan Cope. Well, that 3 out of 7 already in the final round of the championship. It is looking likely at the moment that we're going to see probably a clean sweep for Timmy this evening, bar any mistakes and bar any penalties. But it is looking likely at the moment Dean Atkinson has got away from Brian Ross, and he's now latched onto the back of Ismail Nemri, potentially having a bit of a wild ride this season for some of these guys. They've probably had a bit of bad luck here, there and everywhere, but some of them have had some really better luck than others. But obviously this championship has been enthralling and it has been exciting since day one. So Ismail Nemri under threat from Dean Atkinson at the moment, going up towards the Schumacher S. He's going to be very close. Ismail's trying to close the door. Dean's going to try and get him. Dean's going to try and go on the outside into the next turn. Is he going to make it stick, or is Ismail going to close the door? Ismail at the moment so far closes the door. It's going to be very interesting. Ismail Nemri there having a bit of a moment, but whether he's going to, he's got Dean Atkinson all over the back of him now. He's going to have to seriously think what to do to get away from that green and white car. But it's looking likely at the moment Dean Atkinson there. Oh, he goes a bit wide out of the NGK chicane at the moment, but we'll see what's going on further up the field. you've got, looking at it, Timmy there eking out that advantage from Lee Fitzy at the moment. So on lap 4 out of 7. But going back to this battle between Ismail and of course Dean Atkinson, this is where the battle hots up and probably has to be very interesting indeed. As I say, it is looking likely at the moment Dean Atkinson is going to be on course, essentially trying to chase down Ismail for 4th, but whether that will happen is another thing. We got Adam Morgan there in 3rd, but it's looking likely Lee Fitzy's also trying to get up to the back of Timmy at the moment, but Ismail is all trying to be courteous and trying to escape Dean Atkinson at the moment. So the 777 car versus, I believe that is the 22 car, yes, the 22 car of Dean Atkinson going into the hairpin, trying to chase down Ismail. These guys are probably trying to have their own championship battle, but it's going to be very close. The United Championship so far this season, going down to now this round of the championship, and as I say, anything could happen, and it will be probably personal highlights for some guys. It will be obviously a very interesting move there with Dean Atkinson actually trying to get alongside Ismail Nemri going in towards the Advan turn. He actually gets the move done, but Ismail's going to be there next for the NGK chicane. Is he going to go and try and make a move? Oh, he drifts it there, he let it loose. He's obviously trying, he doesn't want to be drifting because that will hamper his tyre wear. But you can just see, yeah, it's going to be a bit of wear on the tyres there with 2 laps to go in this race. Dan Cope at the rear of the field at the moment. Obviously with that penalty before, it hampered him, but looking likely Ismail is going, he's squirmed a bit. He's got Brian Ross behind him as well, so Brian's obviously on a bit of a massive charge now, trying to get back up into where he wants to be. But obviously Lee Fitzy at the moment trying to chase down Timmy, but Timmy at the moment has got that advantage, trying to get away from Lee Fitzy. But it looks like Ismail and Dean and of course Brian are going to be battling quite a bit here. It's going to be probably close and personal between some of these guys for a couple of places towards the end of the lap, but it is looking likely at the moment. Dan Cope lonely in 7th at the moment. Don't know whether he's struggled or whether he's just had a bit of after his penalty, he's just not picked up the pace. It looks like Brian Ross is putting Ismail Nemri under a bit of pressure now, but it is going to be very close, and it is probably going to be close and personal. But it looks like that Brian Ross will have Ismail Nemri covered. Potentially Ismail has to do exactly the same and try and focus, try to get back up to Dean Atkinson in potentially 4th place at the moment, but it's going to be very close. I'll tell you what is happening at the chicane. It looked on the map that Lee Fitzy was actually getting up to the rear of Timmy there, but he obviously wasn't. It was just the map playing tricks on us, obviously. But Ismail there drifted, still trying to keep that Cayman straight. He's got to be careful because Brian Ross will come and lynch him and potentially will get past him. But we're on the penultimate lap of the last race of the season as well. I'll tell you this, it is going to be very close indeed coming into what we've seen this season. Obviously it looks like that is going to be very interesting, but at the moment has the gap come down to Lee Fitzy and Timmy. But Timmy looks like he wants another comfortable win of the season, and it is going to be very close. Adam Morgan runs very wide out of the arena. Dean Atkinson does exactly the same, so does Ismail, and so does Brian Ross. but that is going to be just how it is. Dan Cope there obviously trying to push on, trying to get up to the pack, but at the moment he's obviously had a bit of issues. Dean Atkinson there in 4th, Ismail Nemri 5th, but it's going to be probably close and personal. But Ismail at the moment he has got that he's got that momentum, but Brian Ross is going to try and chase him. He's going to chase him like a hound. But it's going to be very interesting, I'll tell you this. But we do have probably a bit of a moment going into towards the next couple of turns, because Ismail there, you can just see the orange and black car is going to be having to push on quite a bit to try and get away from Brian Ross. You can see potentially Timmy and Lee Fitzy, the title protagonists. You know, Timmy's going to start the final lap of the final race of the season thinking, you know, my job is now done. Adam Morgan drops down to 4th. Dean Atkinson now takes 3rd, so it's probably going to be another shades of race 1 and 2, you know, for these guys. Brian Ross has a bit of a penalty, which is now allowed Ismail to have that gap considerably back, and Dan Cope now 7th. But Timmy at the moment trying to, he's actually done really well this season. We'll go on board with him before our last couple of moments, but we'll see what we can do here. We're going into the arena section at the moment. It's looking likely that he's going to probably push himself for another victory this evening. And Lee Fitzy in 2nd, followed by Dean Atkinson and obviously Adam Morgan, and then obviously Ismail and Brian Ross. Dan Cope unfortunately at the moment struggling with a bit of issues this evening, but never mind, he will pick up the pace hopefully next season. But you do have Timmy potentially now going into the hairpin for the final time, and he will be having a standing ovation, I'm sure, when he crosses the line for another victory this evening. And obviously the championship will go his way. It will be very close and interesting. Lee Fitzy obviously, you know, he's fought long and hard this season, but to finish 2nd in potentially all 3 races this evening, and he will obviously take 2nd place in the championship, because obviously with Panos not being here, it's obviously going to be very interesting. Dean Atkinson, a trio of podiums in the last race meeting of the season. Adam Morgan 4th, followed by Ismail Nemri, Brian Ross and Dan Cope. But at the moment Timmy goes out of the NGK chicane. He's got really much battles now going on to complete the season, but Timmy at the moment will come around the last corner. The crowd are on their feet, giving him a standing ovation. What a fantastic drive, and what a well-deserved champion for Season 2 at the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Cayman Super Cup, with Lee Fitzy in 2nd. Dean Atkinson comes home in 3rd, followed by Adam Morgan and Ismail Nemri in 5th. Brian Ross 6th, followed by Dan Cope in 7th. I'll tell you what, it has been probably interesting results this season, but it looks like Timmy has got the championship sewn up. He's obviously got a really interesting technique. He's obviously got the fastest lap at the race as well. I'll tell you this, it is going to be very close going in for what happens next season. But we do have obviously a bit of championship. The championship has been potentially one of the best this season. Yes, we've had ups and downs. We've had a few moments. But Timmy actually now takes the fastest lap as well of the race, but he takes the championship just exactly how he wanted. And I'll tell you what, he probably would have planned this for this evening. Obviously he gets the fastest lap on lap number 4 with a 2:04.147. Lee Fitzy takes another 2nd place. Dean Atkinson actually takes another third, followed by Adam Morgan and Ismail Nemri, Brian Ross and Dan Cope round out the field. And that has been the BTCC Blueprints Porsche Cayman Super Cup for this season, and it is all good. Unfortunately, the Caymans will not be running next season, which is a massive shame. But what can I say, for the 2 seasons that we have run these, yes, we've had issues, we've had controversy, we've had fighting talk, we've had various drivers, even reigning champion James Stephen. You know, last season he was an absolute astonishing driver. Timmy obviously has absolute stellar drives in him, and it will be exciting to see exactly what happens next season. And I'll tell you what, it has been a very interesting season. I'll tell you this, it has going to be quite interesting, and I'll tell you what, it will be. It will be very interesting to see exactly what happens. I'll tell you this now, with the championship being sewn up, it will be interesting to see exactly what happens next season with obviously the new look championships. And obviously, you know, do check us out on Facebook, Twitter and Instagram for the Eldar Sim. And also, as I forgot to mention before, we do have an Eldar Sim website. So yes, do check us out on the Eldar Sim website. And you know, there is a lot about championships. There's the rules. There is also a bit about the admins, you know, and also a couple of sponsors. And yes, I'd like to thank each and everyone for taking their time to be part of this, and also it's been amazing this season, and obviously without the sponsorship we wouldn't be here. So guys, until next season, and until we see exactly what happens next season, who knows where I will end up, or who knows who will have or what cars we'll be seeing on the grids. Until then, I've been Hoppers. Take care guys, and have a safe and productive Easter, and also have a very good 2-week break, and it will be very amazing. So without further ado guys, I've been Hoppers. Until then, ta-ra.